Welcome. I bid you welcome. John Clauser coming to you from a music corner of the world. Welcome to another edition of Album Track Ranking A through Z. Today's episode is brought to you by the letter J. Now, this album turned 40 in 2023, and I can remember the day that I actually first got this album. I got this from some very dear friends of mine from my childhood who were probably the best friends I had growing up and especially in my elementary school years made into early junior high school. Um, they were here visiting. And when I say here, when I was still living in Pennsylvania, um, they were visiting from Wisconsin, where they had moved to. And um, my one friend walks in with not. I wish it was this same album, but walks in with Journey, Frontiers. And by this point, I had already gotten into um, Escape. That was pretty much the only album that I was really familiar with at the time, um, in the early 80s. I hadn't really heard much of the previous stuff. I would come to know more of that later. Um, so what are we going to do here? Released in February of 1983, would go six times platinum, only would get to number two, so it never made it to number one. This would be the last album with Ross Valerie on bass until 1996's Trial by Fire. His subsequent replacement, Randy Jackson, would actually play on a track on this album as well. This rocks. This album really rocks. Compared to, not that Escape was a bad album. Wasn't a rocking album. It was a very good album. That's obviously was what really propelled them. I think into the stratosphere. With songs like "Don't Stop Believin'" and "Who's Crying Now" and "Open Arms," of course. "Stone in Love," "Mother Father." There were some really great tracks on this album. Um, but this album was like really the one that kind of took it to, for me, it took it to a different little level. Um, the album is front loaded. That front side, basically, that's where your singles were. Okay. And most of those songs written by Steve Perry and Jonathan Cain, with one exception. And then the second side is Jonathan Cain, Steve Perry, and Neil Sean, with a couple tracks with Steve Smith getting the drummer Steve Smith getting some writing credits here. So this is a tough one. This is a tough one, boy. For those of you who don't get past that first side, if you get to Faithfully, you just kind of shut it down. Well, you need to check out this second side, because this second side really rocks and has some really strong tunes on it, and ones that you really just can't sleep on. So, with that said, let's give this a shot. All right. Uh, the number 10 track for me is actually going to be one of the singles. Um, I don't know why. I was just never a big fan of the number 4 track on side A, After the Fall. Um, this song just never really got my attention, back in the day. It's hooky. It's got a nice catch. It's got some good playing from everybody on it, but it just was never one of those songs that just really got me. So, this is one of those albums where something's got to be at the bottom, unfortunately. So, After the Fall is the one that's going to get it. Um, Number 9, and this again is going to be a really difficult one for me to say this, because I love how heavy this song is and just how Steve Smith just really propels this track. And I'm talking about the third song on side B, Back Talk. Um, Really heavy track. I love this. I love that chugging hard rhythm, and just shows how hard rock these guys could really get. Um, Again, something's got to take the bottom of the list. Number 7 is going to be the album closer Rubicon. Or number 8 rather is going to be the album closer Rubicon. Again, I like I like the groove, the heavy groove that goes with it. You got a synth groove that's I feel like I've heard that a few times by this point already, but it's still a great track. Good Steve Perry vocal here. The number seven track for me is going to be Trouble Child, and that is also the seventh track or the second track on side two. I love the moodiness of this song. Um, I don't know. This might creep up in time. So now number six, this one might surprise some folks. And I think this song for me, I think is probably just because I think I've heard it a little too much. And I'm gonna go with Separate Ways. The lead off single, the lead off track on this album, it has so much good memories here for me. And I love this song. It's a great song, great playing, great mood, great atmosphere, great vocal, everything. So to put this at number six really hurts, but you'll see why. Number five is going to be Frontiers, the title track, the number four track on side two. Here again, you get Steve Smith with this really offbeat kind of rhythm throughout the song, which I believe Neil Sean tried to get use in the HSAS with animation. Um, and it didn't, I don't know, and for whatever reason, that song didn't work for me, but in Frontiers, it does. Um, I don't know. Again, Steve Perry's soaring vocal. I just loved everything about this song. Number four is going to be the side two opener with Edge of the Blade. Neil Sean, man, what he just really lets loose again on this song. Um, Heavy song, heavy opener. Now, you would think this one would be a little lower in my ranking because of how much it's been played, but number three for me is going to be the side A closer, Faithfully. This song just has way too many memories. Very, very strong memories. And no matter how much I've heard this song, I will always go back to the memories that this song brings. So, the Jonathan Cain solo song, written song, Faithfully, is going to be my number three. Number two is going to be the number two track on side A, Send Her My Love. Again, I love the guitar parts. I love the atmosphere and the feeling that this song brings. Um, I always have, always loved this song. So the number one for me might be a little bit of a surprise, but this song always has been my favorite since day one of getting this album, and that's going to be the number three track on side A, Chain Reaction. Here you get Neil Sean with a writing credit. Um, Again, that chugging rhythm. I love the vocal. I love the picture the vocal gives. You know, I can almost see Steve Perry with his hands up saying, "We surrender." You know, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this song has always been my favorite from this album. So maybe a little controversial. I don't know. I know this was a rock radio hit for the band as well. But yeah, this whole first side basically had this is where all the singles were. But don't sleep on that second side. Man, don't sleep on the second side. So there you go, folks. Journey Frontiers. What do we think about this one? Let's talk about it, huh? Give me your rankings. Let me know what you guys think about this album. I think it's a great, one of my favorite Journey albums. And yeah, okay, I need to go back into the discography a little bit more. But boy, if I'm going to listen to Journey, this one's going to be the one I tend to go to. So there you go. Rock forever, y'all. We'll see you next week when we bring it to you by the letter K. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.